Good morning. My name is Rick Harms, and I am the second Vice President of OGRA and the Project Engineer with the City of Thunder Bay. It is my pleasure to call this annual general meeting of the Ontario Good Roads Association to order. Please allow me to introduce the OGRA Board of Directors, and please hold your applause until I have finished introducing the entire board. First, our executive, Chris Trainey, OGRA President and County Engineer, County of Middlesex. Rick Kester, OGRA First Vice President and CAO, City of Belleville. Dave Burton, Third Vice President and Mayor, Municipality of Highlands East. Ken Lope, OGRA Immediate Past President and Manager, Works Operations, City of Mississauga. And the OGRA Director, Paul Ainsley, Councillor, City of Toronto. Anton Boucher, Director of Public Works and Engineering, Municipality of East Ferris. Stephen Kadima, Director of Transportation Services, City of Toronto. Brian Lewis, Councillor of Halton Hills. Paul Shopman, Mayor, Municipality of St. Charles. Michael Tao, Manager of Operations, County of Peterborough. And Joe Turney, our Executive Director, Secretary Treasurer. Ladies and gentlemen, your OGRA Board of Directors. The minutes of the 2018 Annual General Meeting were included in the agenda package that was posted to the website and app. Can I get a mover and seconder to approve the minutes of February 27th, 2018? And seconder? Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. I will now call upon our President, Chris Trainey, to present his report.
Thank you, Rick. So I'm pleased to give my President's report for the annual general meeting. Coming into the Ontario Good Roads Association's 125th year, board and staff had a full agenda in 2018, and I'm happy to report on the successes of last year. 2018 was a very busy year for our policy department. We conducted our 6th annual Advocacy Day at Queen's Park and visited with over 55 MPPs. Our 3 topics for this year included creating a dedicated fund for the enhancement of municipal asset management planning, implementing a Vision Zero road strategy across Ontario, and reforming joint and several liability for Ontario, which is moving forward with some promising statements from the provincial government. Other advocacy efforts during the year included working with the Municipal Engineers Association and the Residential and Civil Construction Alliance of Ontario to reform the municipal class environmental assessment process, providing input on the new Construction Lien Act, and a number of other issues. Our Guelph Road School continues to break records, with over 960 students registered in 2018. This year, we're excited to launch the Eastern Road School in Kingston, Ontario, which will be the first time the TJ Mahoney courses have been offered outside of the University of Guelph. On the digital side, our member services Winter Web app continues to evolve, and now 299 municipalities across Ontario are using the service, and several subscriptions have been sold in the United States. OGRA's other digital services, as delivered through 1894 Inc., including Municipal Data Works and the Road Authority, continue to expand. Due to the large success of our education programs, I am pleased to report we will realize a year-end surplus of just over $300,000. The board agreed that this surplus will be used to pay off the remaining mortgage on the OGRA offices, as well as fund our advocacy effort reserves. The board also recently approved the 2019 budget, which is projecting a balanced budget for this year. I just wanted to take a minute here at the end of my report just to thank a few people that contribute to OGRA to make it such a great organization. like to specifically point out Ken Lope, who's our immediate past president. This is his last meeting with the board itself, and he will join our advisory board of past presidents and become an honorary life member of OGRA. His dedication to this organization cannot be understated, and I'm sure we'll see him contributing to OGRA in the future. I want to give a special thank you to all of our past presidents. Many of you have had an impact on my life directly, both inside and outside of OGRA. Your support and advice has helped me lead to the decision to serve on the board, and it's one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my career. To our current board members, thank you very much for your hard work over the past year and your support to me as president. I really appreciate all the time and effort you put into making this such a great organization. I also want to offer a really big thank you to all of the OGRA staff. This organization really has some of the best and most dedicated people working behind the scenes every day to make everything around you that you see here a success, especially this year with the challenge of moving the conference to a new venue for the first time in many years. And I just want to offer them a little round of applause if we could. I also really want to give my wholehearted thank you to all of our volunteers. Please know that the many hours that you dedicate to OGRA are really greatly appreciated, and our success is due in large part to your contributions. I really urge anyone in this room who's thinking about getting involved in OGRA to make that connection, speak to any of our staff. It's really a decision you won't regret. And then I would just like to thank my wife, Katerina. She's really been a great support to me over the past year and during my entire term with the board. She's made a number of sacrifices, and I really, truly appreciate everything she's done. Thank you. So I'm down to my last 24 hours. Tomorrow morning I get to pass the gavel over to Rick Kester, who's our incoming president. Really, truly, serving as your OGRA president has been one of the most rewarding things that I've done throughout my entire career, and I plan to continue to serve in the organization any way I can in the future. Thank you, and please enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thanks, Chris. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I want to thank you for your leadership this year, and it has been a pleasure working with you as president. I now ask for a mover and seconder to approve the president's report. Seconded. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. The OGRA annual report has been posted to the conference virtual kit bag and on the smartphone app. On the last 2 pages, you will find the names of numerous individuals who have given their time and expertise to OGRA. Please join me in expressing our thanks to those individuals and their employers. On behalf of the board, I would also like to thank the co-chairs of OGRA's standing 2 committees, the Policy Committee co-chairs Paul Ainsley and Virginia Ridley, and the Member Services Committee co-chairs Anton Boucher and Michael Tao. Your contribution to OGRA this past year is appreciated. I will now call on a mover and seconder to approve the auditor's report, which can be found in the annual report. Moved. Seconded. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. I will now call for a mover and seconder to appoint the auditing firm of Cowperth Waite Mehta for the fiscal year 2019. Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried again. Thank you. So we have one item of new business to bring before the membership. The OGRA received a resolution from Mayor Steve Salonen, Municipality of Markstay Warren. The resolution was passed by the area mayors. Copies of this resolution and a brief staff report are on your table for your convenience. And for the benefit of the delegates, I will also read the resolution. Whereas since the separation of the Roma OGRA Annual Combined Conference in 2017, attending both events separately are becoming costly and unattainable to smaller communities. And whereas the previous combined Roma OGRA annual conference provided the opportunity of member municipalities to participate and benefit from both organizations in an efficient and cost-effective manner to better serve their constituents. Therefore, it be resolved that the OGRA board approach the Roma board to establish a working relationship to organizing an annual Roma OGRA combined conference. Before this motion can be debated, I require a mover and seconder. Is Mayor Salonen in the room here? Okay. Do you so move? Okay. And we'd like a seconder from the membership. Down here, down front. So would anyone like to speak to the motion? Okay. Please use the microphone.
Good morning. My name is Gisèle Pajot, and I'm the mayor for the municipality of French River, and I speak in support of this resolution. One of the things we've been speaking about the last couple of days is about how to do more with less, and we talked about shared services and how we can work together to better our municipalities. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to try to save some money. And not only that, I think it would be cost effective not only for the municipalities but also for our exhibitors and our political premier and minister. I think it was kind of glaringly obvious that the premier and the minister for municipal affairs wasn't here, but was over at the Roma conference. So I would strongly urge everyone to support this resolution. Thank you.
Concerns duly noted. We have another speaker.
Yep. Glenn McNeil, Mayor of ACW, and I would also like to support this motion and commend the previous speaker on this. When we talk about fiscal restraint on behalf of all of the residents that we represent, this is a great example of doing that, and we can no longer afford the duplication that we have with two separate conventions. It would show great leadership on behalf of the administration and the board of directors of both organizations to get this put together for the benefit of all. Thank you.
Thank you. We're seeking to benefit the entire membership. Any other speakers? I'm going to call the question on the motion. Would like to ask, is everyone in favor? Hands up. Thank you. Opposed? Overwhelmed. Carried. Thank you very much. Is there any other business to come before this meeting? Seeing none, I hereby declare the 2019 Annual General Meeting of the Ontario Goods Roads Association adjourned. Thank you. I'm back. For those of you that maybe came in late, I am Rick Harms, OGR Second Vice President and Project Engineer, City of Thunder Bay. John Fraser is the Member of Provincial Parliament for Ottawa South, critic for health and long-term care, intergovernmental affairs, agriculture, food and rural affairs, and interim leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. Previously, John spent 18 years managing small and medium-sized local businesses before entering the public service. For 14 years, John served alongside Dalton McGuinty in Ottawa South, working to bring community-based solutions to important issues for the people that live and work there. I have personally visited John during OGRA advocacy visits to Queen's Park. It is my pleasure to introduce the interim leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, John Fraser.
Thanks, Rick. Thank you very much. Here we go. Merci, Rick. Bonjour tout le monde. It's great to be here this morning at OGRA, and I want to congratulate you on your 125th anniversary, your quasi-key centennial. Happy quasi-key centennial. I wanted to say that word because when I saw it, I figured, how do I pronounce it? And I'll probably never have another opportunity to use it in some sort of context anywhere in a speech. So now it's done. So I want to thank you for what you do to improve people's lives. You've been doing it for 125 years. You advocate, you educate, you communicate to improve those things that our families depend on. And you've been doing that for 125 years. That's a really long time. I represent an organization that's 160 years old. And we've seen a lot of change too, especially in the last 8 months. You know, last June, voters sent us a pretty clear message. And I know there's a lot of politicians in the room. And you know, when they send you a message, there's one thing you got to do. You got to hear them, and then you have to go back with a commitment to earn their trust again and to do better, and that's exactly what we're going to do in the Ontario Liberal Party. So politics is cruel, though. It's a really cruel game, and things happen sometimes that you don't expect. Last November in question period, I asked the Premier a question, and in his response to me, he said, well, to the leader of the minivan party, this is in front of a whole bunch of people, I was really angry, and it was upsetting, you know, to be, someone's trying to humiliate you in front of a bunch of people. And I had to say something. So my response was, actually, Premier, I'm the interim leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. And I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of that because the minivan was built in Windsor by Canadians, by hard-working auto workers. Moms and dads drive their families around to hockey and to sports and to other things in minivans. Minivans are the workhorse of Ontario's businesses. So if that's the moniker that you want to give us, that you want to give me, I'm proud to own that. So that's the approach that we're going to take. And I know, as I said, there's a lot of municipal politicians in the room and staff as well too, and some industry people. And I want to thank you for all the work that you do. I'm a politician too. I know how hard you work. I know that you work 7 days a week. I know that you respond to people not only in your office, but when you're in the grocery store, when you're having a coffee somewhere, when someone calls you late at night, and you're there to respond. And it's an honorable profession. I'm really proud to be part of it, and I want to thank you for your service to the people that we all serve, because we depend on you. You know, I know that that you're going to be building a new relationship with the government. That's really important. It's a new government. It's early times. You've got to do that. And I want you to know I'm not going to rail against the government this morning. I don't think that's going to be helpful. I'll save that for when I go back to Queen's Park this afternoon. That's the best place to do it, like you do in council chambers. But I want to tell you a story, and bear with me, please, about what's important. So last September, my mother had a stroke. And she had a stroke. She was out shopping with my sister. She got to the hospital quickly. She got into surgery quickly. She was 2 weeks in the NICU, and then she was 7 weeks in rehab, and now she's at home, and she's doing much better. But when she had that, and many of you had this experience, when she had that stroke and she was in that hospital bed, all that mattered was that she was there and that space that she was in. So when you're sick, when your family member needs care, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And I know there are people in the room who have had that experience. And I believe that one of the most important reasons that people send us, me, to Queen's Park is to take care of their health care. But health care, you know, that story that I tell you is really just demonstrates something that's really more central, you know, to the idea of why we do things together, why we come together, why you've had a 125-year history, is we come together for the public good. We come together for public safety. People need safe roads. They need safe roads so they can get home on time from work, and they get home. And they don't lose time from their family. They're not injured. They're not exhausted. They don't end up with health problems because they're spending 3 hours in a commute a day. You know, we don't want congestion on our roads because that makes air quality poor. So it affects children with asthma and seniors and people with breathing difficulties. So it comes back to healthcare. We need reliable utilities like water and sewer, and the work that you do to make sure that that's sustainable, and the work that you've done, is critical. Because if those two things don't work, if it's not sustainable, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, that drops people's quality of life. And if you don't have a plan, you're going to ask them for more money. And that money will take away from something else that's really important to their family. So, again, I want to thank you for the work that you do. I look forward to working with you. And I'm proud to represent a party that's always been about building, 160 years of building. You know, over the last 15 years, we've done some work together that led to us building and improving our cities. That's what people expect us to do. You know, we're going to have I'm just the interim leader. I'm not going to be the permanent leader. I'm not running. I made that very clear when I took the job. I'm here to help you guys, help us get to where we need to get to. So there's going to be debate. And that's the great thing. You know, there's challenges around having 7 seats. And not having resources, and the two other parties wanting to keep you in that spot. That's the downside. The upside is you get to look at things with fresh eyes. You're not tied down anymore. So that debate's going to be out there. And I know that many of you are active in your communities, different political parties. Maybe, I don't know how many liberals are in the room, but I don't want to ask that question. Is there anybody from Ottawa? Nobody from Ottawa? Okay, who's there? All right, good. All politics is local. I almost forgot that. But as an association and as people who represent your cities, towns, municipalities, you should look at that debate and get involved in it. Let us know what you think. Never had a problem doing that when we were in government. Please let us know now, because we'll be back. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but we'll be back. And at some point in the future, we'll be working with you again. Thank you very much. Merci. I hope you have a great conference.
John, on behalf of the OGRA, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, and thank you, of course, for your support of our conference. Greatly appreciated, sir.
Thank you very much.
All the
Merci.
best. Thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Ken Lope, Manager of Works Operations for the City of Mississauga Transportation and Works Department, and also the immediate past president for OGRA. Mark Twain once said, everyone talks about the weather, and I'm sure they're going to be talking about the weather tomorrow, 10 centimeters forecasted for the GTA, but no one does anything about it. Well, our next shift disturber can't fix the weather for you, but he can show you how your municipality can be better prepared while at the same time stay in compliance with the minimum maintenance standards. Fahad Shuja has been the OGRA OPS Member Services Coordinator for the past 8 years, and in that time has been leading the development of some of OGRA's cutting-edge apps. Fahad holds a civil engineering degree from Ryerson University and is here today to talk about the Winter Web app and the Weather Tracker add-on module. Please join me in welcoming Fahad Shuja.
Thanks. Thank you, Ken. Good morning. How are you guys doing? All right. So we're going to talk about a bit about weather documentation today and the role that OGRA is taking to try to support you, the member municipalities, and trying to be compliant with minimum maintenance standards. I keep looking down for the screen. Okay. So as you know from the minimum maintenance standards, section 3.1 is called weather monitoring, and it talks about how during October to April, during the winter season, you have to monitor weather once per shift or 3 times a calendar day. And when it comes to the summer months, it has to be done once per calendar day. But it's really something that has to be done throughout the year. So it's not just the weather monitoring is just not just for the winter season. So monitoring the weather is not really all that difficult, right? But the issue comes when you have to prove that it was actually monitored. So what a number of municipalities do is that they take on a manual process where at a given time, so times are selected throughout the day on when the forecast should be monitored. And from there, somebody is assigned to go in and hop onto the favorite website where they go in and try to take a snapshot of it in a digital copy like a PDF, or they print it and then file it in a document. Am I too far ahead? Okay. They file it somewhere, either digitally or as a physical copy, and then repeat the process all over again, right? So when it's up to, if it's the winter season, then they're doing it 3 times a day. If it's summer, it's done once a day. But still, it's a tedious exercise, and although it's a very mundane task of just doing those little things, it does cost about 75 to 100 hours per municipality to do that task. So this is where we at OGRA felt that something could be done. And this is where we created a brand new service from ground up, and called it the Weather Tracker, which is part of the Winter Web app ecosystem. Now, the first time we talked about the Weather Tracker was back in 2017 OGRA conference, and we wanted to make sure that it was very, very simple from the municipal perspective on how to set the process up and start getting your forecasts. So when it comes to the setup piece, it's very simple. All you do is that it's a 3-step process. You get in, you see a map, and it shows you all of the 400 plus weather stations that we have curated from IBM. So we purchase the data from them. We show you the weather locations, the station locations. You select a weather location. Station location. In the next step, you simply select the time when you want the forecast to be delivered. MMS asks for 3 times a day, but we actually give you 4 as an option. You can reduce it down if you need to, but we suggest that we keep it at 4. And finally, you select the staff to whom the reports needs to go to. So all you need is their name and their email address, really. And that's really it. So from the setup side, you're done, and from there, we take care of the rest. The entire thing is automated. We also have something called a smart red button. What happens is when you receive your forecast in an email, it comes as a PDF file, and there's a little red button in it. and every red button knows who the staff member, which staff member is receiving the emails. So what happens is when the staff member clicks on the red button, we take a snapshot of it, and in the online portal that every municipality that subscribes to the weather tracker has access to, you can simply go into the reports history. You can select any date when in the past where the forecast was delivered, and you get to see all the forecasts that were delivered that day. There's a little eye icon. If you click on that, you can see exactly who the report was sent to, when was it sent, and when did that person read or did not read that report. So people love this particular feature because now this has really changed the game. You can all of a sudden see how your staff is interacting with the weather forecasts, and also maybe create some best practices on if somebody is not reading as often. We officially released the weather tracker in April of 2017. Really happy that by December of that same year, just a few months down, 15 municipalities had come on board. And if you fast forward that to December of last year, just about a month or so ago, 33 municipalities have now come on board. So within about 23 months, we're really happy with the uptake that this has taken. Out of the 33 municipalities, 220 plus individual staff members receive these forecasts every day. And I had to check this number multiple times, but we're sending about 24,000 forecasts a month during winter seasons now. This is phenomenal, and we're really thrilled with the kind of support that we've received. This is what the weather forecast looks like. It's a 4-pager. It's customized to your municipality, so you have the municipality name on top. It's just a name that we put on now, Town of Good Roads. You see the recent conditions. Also, you see Environment Canada alerts. When it exists, if it doesn't exist, it just says no alerts. And then you get into the actual data, so you get into the time, the temperature, feels like, dew point, the conditions with a bit of text and also an icon, probability of precipitation, rain, snow, wind, cloud cover. Essentially, everything that you need to make sound decisions from that point onward, everything is baked into that report. Now, this is what it used to look like before. We went back to work last year to try to upgrade this to the next level. This is already a game changer the way things were, but today I'm really happy to show you what the changes are that we have made. First of all, we looked at the gap between the text, between the rows, and we felt there was something that, there was a little bit more space than necessary. So right off the bat, the first thing we did was reduce that size down. So in case you're printing these reports down, out of the 4 pages, we would like to shrink it as much as possible without compromising the font size. So simply by reducing the row heights, we were able to do a lot. I'll show you what happens there. Also, one of the things that we noticed was if you look at the rain and snow column, we used to have zeros along the column if there was nothing expected. So it was kind of difficult. Right now I've highlighted where the precipitation is actually shown, but if you can imagine, it's difficult to go through 4 pages and try to not look for zeros. So you had to kind of visually close off the zeros and just focus on where the events were happening or how much of it. So we did away with that, removed the zeros, and now we have kind of, instead of zeros, we just have dashes, so it clears up, and also you can clearly see where the precipitation is happening within a second of looking at the report. Also, by condensing that row height, we're able to take all the 4 pages and actually condense into one. And this, again, is by not compromising the font size. So we just wanted to make sure it's still all legible. A lot of municipalities a lot of staff still reads these things on the phone, so you can always pinch to zoom in and out on the phone. But still, it's still very much legible if you print it out. Now with that, we had some more space left on the page. So what we did was create a new column, and in this one we added new data that wasn't there before. We added today's summary, so we give you a day and night detail. Also, we give you some other metrics on the low and high for the day, liquid precipitation, snow precipitation, that sort of thing. Just a quick snapshot of what's expected in the next 24 hours. And then we said, why not do yesterday's summary as well? So we did a quick summary on yesterday, just to give you that snapshot as well. So all of the 4 pages that we used to have before, all condensed down really neatly into one single page. We're really happy that we were able to bring that down to that sort of a level. We kind of surprised ourselves there. But we weren't really done with this, right? So we've looked at that and said, okay, what else can we now do? This was just a cleanup exercise. So we added a new page. And in this page, we took the tabular form and gave it a graphical interface. So now you can, in addition to seeing it hour by hour from the table side on page 1, you can see the graphs on page 2. In particular, the 3 graphs. The first graph is cloud cover. This kind of works like how clouds are. So if it's a cloudy day, the clouds start to come down. It gets a little muddier, a little darker. So it goes from 0% at the top, 100% at the bottom. So it's graph 1, cloud cover. Graph 2 is the probability of precipitation. Doesn't need any explanation. The redder the graph gets, the higher the probability of the precipitation. Final graph is kind of, it's a really neat one. It combines a lot of different things into one. So you have the air temperature, which is shown as the blue line if if we have dipped down into the negatives. The line color automatically changes to red when you get into above 0. So I'm really hoping for those red lines to show up really soon. Also, there's a green line that shows the dew point. And in addition to that, we also show the bar graphs for snow and rain. So all of the stuff that's in the 48-hour forecast in table form, all that is now graphical. So even much more easier now to look at that if you want to see it from the visual side of things. Now this already, we have half the size of what we began with, and we've kind of doubled the value within the report. But we're OGRA, so we weren't really done at this point either. So we added a third page. And in this third page, so initially, all the stuff so far has been 48 hours, and which is, we know it's a critical period where, it's something that, it's an actionable time frame where you know that weather may not change all too much in that period. Further down the road, it does tend to change a little bit, but we feel it's important to have a little bit of an outlook into the future of what the weather is going to look like after 48 hours. And while most would probably give you 5 days or 7 days, I'm happy to report that we were able to add 10 days of forecast within that same survey. So with that, now we have 3 pages. The last page is actually, the graphs are exactly the same way as they are for the 48 hours. So you see the air temperature, the dew point. You see the little icons for every 3 hours to give you an idea what kind of temperature to expect without having to go through like tons and tons of table format. So with this one, we have now the strongest offering of any weather service that's out there today. And this is what we really intended out to build when we released the app as 2017. But it took us a little bit of time to understand the whole process and make sure that, but now we have a very, very solid product out there. If you compare that to the 4 pages, now there's no comparison, right? So initially you had 4 pages that were really page 1 of the new report. Of course, we don't do the data. We buy the data from IBM. So therefore, there is a pricing component to it, as you know. The pricing component basically goes like there's 3 tiers. You have basic, pro, and enterprise. And in the basic tier, it goes for $249 a month, pro for $498 a month, and enterprise for $999 a month. And the whole difference between the 3 is basically the number of weather stations. So if you have a climate where the weather doesn't change in your municipality all that much, the basic is perfectly fine for you. All the features are exactly the same. So in $249 a month, you get 1 weather station. For the Pro at $498 is 3 weather stations, and the Enterprise is 7 weather stations of your choice. But that was the old pricing. With the new one, so you have there's way more data that we're offering now, and we're purchasing on your behalf. So I hope that it does warrant a bit of a price change. But again, we're OGRA, so we kept the price exactly the same as before. So no changes at all. If you signed on to the weather tracker before at those prices, they continue to be the same. If you sign up from here onwards, it's going to be the same as it was before, but just way more value than ever before. Now, for the 33 municipalities that are already on board, we have already upgraded all of them. A number of them have already started to use the forecast, and they love the new layout. We're really happy to be supporting them in this. So in a nutshell, by introducing Weather Tracker into the ecosystem, we understand, we felt there was a need to do something about this. Just the value that it provides to our members on a day-to-day basis, and the positive feedback that we get is really, really phenomenal. We're really happy that we're able to provide the service out to our membership. Now, we do have a test drive option, so we have certain licenses that we keep aside for about a 30-day trial. So if you're interested in testing it out for your municipality, you don't have to take my word for it. Try it out for 30 days. If you don't like it, we'll never ask for anything. Just see if that works out for you. There's my email address, fahad@ogra.org. And with that, my time is up, and I would like to thank you, and I hope you have the rest of the conference really great. Thank you.
Thank you, Fahad. Nicely done. As a roads manager, I would strongly recommend you take advantage of the app. It's nice to centralize all your winter-related documentation, SOPs, routes, reports, everything in one place rather than have it scattered in binders and files all over your office. Again, Fahad, well done. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our final speaker is a welcome addition to our conference. Born and raised in Hamilton, Andrea Horwath was elected to Hamilton City Council in 1997, then as the MPP for Hamilton Centre in 2004. As leader of the NDP, she led the party to its second greatest result ever in the last provincial election. Please join me in welcoming the leader of the New Democratic Party, the official opposition, and the pride of Hamilton, Andrea Horwath.
Thanks, Ken. Well, good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you very much, Ken, for that kind introduction and for your tireless work on behalf of communities across Ontario. Before I get into my remarks, I want to acknowledge that we are gathered here this morning on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, the Métis, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. And as we meet here together on this land, let us also renew our commitment as Ontarians to true and meaningful reconciliation based on cooperation and action to make people's lives better and build stronger communities across our province. Friends, it's great to be back here at the Ontario Good Roads Association, and I'm also glad to see many friends and familiar faces in the crowd. The OGRA is a strong voice for the needs of communities across our province, and it is the hard work and dedication of the folks in this room that makes this organization tick. So thank you for all that you do. I was listening to the former speakers this morning and the identification of some of the progress that you've made, and you really do deserve a great deal of thanks because you're making things work better for Ontarians. As many of you know, before my time at Queen's Park, I sat on Hamilton City Council for many years. And so for those of you who are elected at the municipal level, I have walked a mile in your shoes, and I know firsthand just how important your job is. And I also know from years of working with the folks in this room and speaking with families across this great province that no matter what part of Ontario we live in, we all want similar things. We all imagine a better future for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, a future where life is more affordable and folks have good paying, quality jobs that they can raise a family on, where everyone can send their kids to school close to home and not have to worry about the basics, like the temperature in the classrooms or the water quality in the drinking fountains. A future where you can count on essential services like world-class public health care to be there where you need it and when you need it, and for those services to be well protected and sustainable so that they're there for the next generation as well. Where people can get to work and from work on safe, well-maintained roads with shorter commutes, less congestion, and fewer delays. So they can spend less time stuck in the car or on transit and more time with their loved ones. This is our common goal, the future we're all working towards. Sadly, for far too long, when it comes to building this very future, we've seen governments keep taking us in the wrong direction. Decades of cuts to healthcare have left folks facing dangerously overcrowded hospitals, painful wait times, and being treated in hallways on gurneys without privacy or dignity. The previous Liberal government closed hundreds of schools while allowing a $15 billion school repair backlog to accumulate across our province. And municipal leaders have endured years of cuts to the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, making it even harder for you to do the critical local work, let alone pick up the provincial government's slack. After 8 months in power, Doug Ford's doing little to fix any of these problems. In fact, he's making things worse for people. He ripped $100 million in desperately needed repair funding from our kids' schools, leaving students, parents, and educators across Ontario to brave crumbling buildings with broken boilers in the dead of winter. He's been scheming behind closed doors to create a centralized healthcare super agency, which apparently the big announcement's coming today about what that's supposed to look like. A new, even bigger bureaucracy is what's likely that will take important healthcare decisions even further away from your local communities. And now Doug Ford has got the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund in his sights. He's warning that he'll be making it a smaller funding envelope for future transfers, despite the fact that this fund is absolutely crucial to the health of municipalities across Ontario, especially in smaller northern and rural communities. This certainly won't make it easier to build the roads, bridges, culverts, and critical infrastructure Ontarians need. And then there's Doug Ford's meddling in municipal and regional elections in Toronto, Niagara, Peel, York, and Muskoka. He ripped up wards. He canceled elections in the middle of the campaign. He didn't once ask what the democratically elected councils in any of these places thought. And when they told him what they thought, he brushed it off. He ignored them, he insulted them, and he threatened the notwithstanding clause to bulldoze any dissent. Municipal leaders know that this was never about whether or not you like Toronto, or if you thought its council was too large. Mr. Forbes' obsession was about showing the province and showing municipal leaders, folks like you, who is boss. And it has left mayors, councillors, chairs, wardens, and local elected leaders across the province wondering, what's Doug Ford's government going to do to municipalities next? Municipal leaders know what it means when provincial governments start claiming that the province's cupboard is bare. It means they're going to make local governments pay more. It means services and responsibilities will be downloaded onto already stretched municipal budgets. It means municipalities are going to be asked yet again to do even less, or rather to do even more with less. Municipal governments and the families and small businesses that they represent deserve more support and partnership from the province, not less. And the level of government that is closest to communities should be trusted to determine what works for their communities. Partnerships between local governments should be forged with a handshake, not a hatchet. Organizations like the OGRA are living proof of that, which is what makes Mr. Ford's recent eyeing of amalgamation so incredibly concerning. Let's be clear, municipal governments are still recovering from the last round of conservative amalgamation and downloading in the 90s. And Ontario's Premier should respect the will of democratically elected local governments. He should work with them, not try and override their wishes, because the Premier's job is to support and partner with municipalities, not rule them. This is not what people voted for. Personne n'a voté pas pour ça. Hopefully, this will all change, and as the Leader of Opposition, I'm going to be constructive. I will support what is working in this province, but I will also keep pressing this government every single day to fix what's wrong and to deliver on the things that communities across Ontario need, which is why we won't stop fighting for the Ford government to take municipalities' needs seriously. I'm going to keep fighting for the OMPF to be raised to $550 million, followed by regular ongoing increases, something that creates some predictability for you all. We're going to keep talking about community infrastructure fund increases, which this government seems to have forgotten to put in their fall economic statement. We'll keep pushing for a necessary increase to municipal gas tax funding, something else Mr. Ford's government seems to have forgotten about, which would help fund desperately needed transit infrastructure in communities across Ontario. We're also going to introduce legislation that makes it clear to this Premier that municipal leaders are part of responsible, accountable local government, and they deserve a say in how their municipalities are governed. This legislation, if passed, will protect municipalities from future election meddling. Local governments should absolutely be free to evolve and change to better serve their communities. And growing, shrinking, or redrawing boundaries can only come from the community and from community leadership, the people who know best. Nous défendrons toujours tous les Ontariens et Ontariennes. That means no more backroom deals, no more political vendettas, no more meddling. But I also know that the next 4 years can't be spent just working to prevent cuts and damage. We have to be building for the future. In this great province, we know we can do so much better. On a besoin d'un changement pour le mieux. And as your official opposition, it is our job to show what that would look like, to put forward a positive vision for the future of this province, a vision of hope, a vision for more opportunity for more people, a vision of a new partnership between municipalities and the provincial government that's based on respecting the priorities of Ontario families and delivering on the investments that communities across our province deserve. That's why I'm going to keep fighting alongside you for the stable, predictable infrastructure funding that municipalities need to grow and thrive. Instead of allowing our kids' schools to continue to crumble and watch more of our kids' schools close their doors, we're going to fight to push for the investments in local schools that Ontario families need. Because the next generation of kids shouldn't have to spend hours every single day on a school bus. After years of frozen budgets and an ongoing hallway medicine crisis, we know that Ontarians can't afford more cuts, more privatization, and more centralized bureaucracy in their health care. Everyone in this province deserves to be able to get quality care when they need it, where they need it, which is why we're going to keep defending public health care and fighting for more funding, not less. It's why I won't give up on investing in our roads and bridges, and why I'm going to keep pushing to bring critical public services like winter highway maintenance back into the public sector. Because no one in Ontario should have to worry about highways being unsafe in the middle of winter. Now, I know there was a huge accident yesterday, and my heart goes out to the 70 various groups of folks in those cars and trucks that were in that accident yesterday. And I know the weather conditions were a big, big part of that accident. But we also know that many accidents have occurred across our province that could have been prevented, and we also know the former government let us down in a big way when it comes to the accountability of those road maintenance contracts. That's not acceptable. People's lives are at stake if the government is not doing its job properly, and that's what we saw with the Liberals. I don't see any sign that the Conservatives are going to fix it, and I'm worried that they're just going to make it worse. So as we push for these changes and for these important investments, we also need to lower costs for families and businesses and municipalities. And that's why New Democrats led the charge, along with more than 200 municipalities, to stop the sell-off of Hydro One. Hydro belongs in public hands, and in fact, I think that's pretty clear, whether the Premier wants to admit it or not. That's his opinion too, because he keeps deciding what they should be doing at the Hydro One board. He hasn't realized it's actually a private company. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. It's neither fish nor fowl at this point. We believe it needs to be public. And I think that by restoring full public ownership and control over Hydro One, we can still lower hydro bills by 30% for everyone. It's not too late. Electricity is not a luxury, and it shouldn't be priced like one, which is why you can count on your official opposition, New Democrats, to keep pushing for change. We will not give up the fight to make hydro public, and we will not give up the fight to end mandatory time of use pricing and bring fairness to rural delivery charges. And we won't give up the fight to bring down hydro bills for families, businesses, and municipalities, and keep those bills down over the long term. You can count on New Democrats to stand up for you, for our essential infrastructure, and for the communities across our province that you work so hard for. We will never support downloading more responsibilities and costs onto the backs of municipalities. We will support investment in municipalities, and we will be a partner that makes sure the province bears its fair share. I know that Ontarians have more in common than we have differences. There is more that unites us than divides us. And I believe we all want the same kind of future, one with vibrant communities, world-class healthcare, better jobs and opportunities, and good, safe roads to take us home to our families. Together, we can build that future. We can make Ontario the best place in the world to work, live, and thrive. Pour un Ontario meilleur, agissons ensemble. Let's work together to make it happen. Thanks very much, everyone. Merci beaucoup. Miigwech. Enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you.
Madam Leader, as always, on behalf of OGRA, thank you for always coming out and supporting our conference.
My pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest.
Andrea Horwath, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our morning session. Coffee will now be served in all the workshop rooms. The trade show closes at noon today, so if you have not yet an opportunity to visit the booths, please do so. A lot of great vendors out there, opportunity to make new contacts. Concurrent workshop sessions will begin at 10:45 a.m. Please consult your program on the smartphone app for topics and locations. We'll see everyone back here this afternoon. Thanks, and have a great conference.